Hey, trendsetters. Yeah, the camera's going to be a bit shaky, but I just wanted to make a video today instead of just a podcast, or whatever you want to call it, a voice recording. Anyway, let's talk about tariffs. They're hot in the news at the moment. I think Trump's got his heart in the right place, you know. He wants to help America out. But tariffs aren't how you do it, Donald. You know, Peter Schiff's right. In the past, the states got away with tariffs. I'll let this truck go past. That's a profiler made for digging roads up and stuff. In the past, the United States got away with tariffs because they had a tiny government. They had no income tax, no sales taxes. Well, they probably had some sales taxes and some tariffs. And that was enough to pay for the tiny little government because, you know, every man was king of his own castle, pretty much. So they worked. Well, they didn't work, but they got some revenue in for the tiny little, bunch of bureaucrats. But nowadays, so you've introduced tariffs. The people that, like the Chinese aren't going to pay them, the Canadians aren't going to pay them, the Australians aren't going to pay them. The consumer pays. The consumer always pays. They have to. This idea that some rich landlord or some rich capitalist can soak up the tariff. They never soak it up, and nor should they, because they operate on the margin. They either make a margin, make a profit, or they make a loss or break even. They don't, so whatever the thing costs, they have to, add a percentage onto that to be able to make a profit and pay their workers and buy new materials and keep a factory running, whatever it is. So all businesses all businesses have to make a profit or they go broke, and they if they don't make a profit, they need to disappear, and they do. Well, they should in a free market. And allow a better run business to take their place, or a new idea, or whatever it is. The idea that you can put tariffs on and improve the economy and somehow bring manufacturing back to your country. I'll tell you what brings manufacturing back to your country. I mean, they've spent 100 years destroying it. And government spending destroys it. So regulations destroy manufacturing. Everything that was invented 100 years ago was just, some old white guy that everyone hates in the shed, tinkering around, thinking and sticking bits of metal together and trying things out. And then manufacturing comes from an invention or whatever, where someone started in their garage. They didn't need a license to get going. They didn't need to spend thousands of dollars on compliance and all this rubbish and training courses and blah, blah, blah. So the only way to bring manufacturing back to your country, whether I'm speaking to Australia or, Germany, Germans have been manufacturing, and Japanese, they've got a manufacturing economy. But the Germans are in trouble with the fuel prices because of other interferences in the market by governments and people complying with government regulations, destroying their cheap power. Everyone any one of you listeners that should already know that energy is the economy, and expensive energy makes for expensive products, expensive manufacturing, everything else. So the only way to bring back manufacturing and get your people working again and get your economy on track and pay down the debt and blah, 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 is to remove regulations. It's how Singapore grew out of a pile of sand into the economic powerhouse that it is. It's absolute private property rights and non-interference by bureaucrats. It's the only way to resurrect an economy is to remove the regulations and the taxes that enable it on anything you want to do, or any aspect of the economy in your country. you need to remove the regulations. Don't worry about trying to tax things from overseas. That doesn't work. All that does is raise the price of the imported good. Now, if you're a car manufacturer, or if you're a protected species like Harley-Davidson's been protected since 2008 with tariffs on imported Japanese or European motorcycles. Yes, that's helped Harley-Davidson to hold a market share, but it's also stifled innovation, and people still choose, the imported bike can still be around the same price or even less with better reliability, more innovation, because once you start protecting, the Europeans are doing it with their farmers, protecting their farmers. Well, that protection allows substandard product to come to the market, product that otherwise wouldn't be bought because it's protected, because it's, you're in a bubble, you're in a false environment, you're not in competition. So don't think that competition is bad. Don't think that, we have to compete with the Chinese and they don't pay their workers very much. Well, if you arbitrarily and artificially set what workers get paid, then you create a false environment that, ends up falling on its own sword. So we don't need higher wages forced by unions and governments against employers. We need lower price goods and services. We're smart, we're innovative. Look at, Elon Musk is reinventing the factory. He's not just reinventing, making new stuff. Love him or hate him. He's actually looking at, okay, how can we innovate and produce this stuff, cheaply? Everyone wants cheap stuff. No one wants to work. So I'll be careful not to go off on a tangent here, but government interference doesn't work. It makes things expensive. It makes things inefficient. The wage laws drive unemployment higher. The wage laws drive, people complain about, you go to the checkout at Woolworths and there's hardly anyone there. There's just all the self-service ones now and hardly take any cash. But they're there absolutely because of government interference in the market driving wages so high that it's actually worth putting a machine in. If someone can make a machine that'll do that machine doesn't call in sick. It may break down occasionally, but it doesn't call in sick. It doesn't go to parties. It works pretty much every day, and you don't have to pay its super. And that happens quicker with an interfered labour market. So if you have a good in a country that's being produced, so like I was saying before, the States makes cars, right? But they have imported cars as well. They could never keep up with the demand at the moment, the way they're structured, if you took away all the imported cars. If you make the imported cars more expensive or more expensive than the local product and turn people to buy the local product, you may sell a few more of the local product, but they're already expensive. The imported cars are expensive. So overall, there is less economic activity. There is less vehicles purchased. Mechanics are under demand to fix older cars because people won't. There's a point where they just go, well, it's just too much. I'm not buying a new car this year, or whatever it is, even a second-hand one. Or I'm going to buy a cheaper one, an older second-hand car. You make things expensive enough and you stop the market, you stop people transacting. So that doesn't help the economy. That doesn't, help anybody, really. It's like Years and years and years ago, I finished a butchering apprenticeship. I was a butcher. We had meatworks all across the top of Australia processing meat and sending it packaged overseas, already cryovac in boxes. So it was value added. It was boned out. It was ready to go a bit more. It had some, wasn't just send a cow alive overseas, to be treated badly on a ship, and then when they get there. Now, the money that you could make in one of these abattoirs was fantastic compared to the average person. People used to go up north, work in the abattoir for the winter, and then go back down to Perth or Sydney or Melbourne or Brisbane and just work in a supermarket or something in the summertime. In the wet season when everything closed down in the north, but they earned so much money for 9 months of the year. They could have a couple of months off. But eventually, that was fun while it lasted. But eventually all the abattoirs closed down. All the meatworks closed down. Well, not all of them, but just about every one of them. There's not many left. And those high wages are non-existent anymore. It was driven by unions to put the price up, which puts the price up for the processed meat to go overseas. Someone's going to pay. Someone's got to pay the margin, otherwise the business closes. So, that's one example of how you destroy an industry. The Australian car industry is no more. They can't even put them together now, let alone, they get made overseas using our coke and coal and our iron ore. They get made, and the parts get made, and then we used to put them together here. They don't even do that now. And the car industry in Australia was subsidised by the government for a long time, because without the subsidies, it would collapse. And it should never need, no business should ever need a subsidy, because you're taking money from a productive part of the economy and feeding it into something that shouldn't exist. So our car manufacturing should exist. We should be making the steel here and the cars. We're not stupid. We've got smart scientists that have probably gone overseas now, but we're getting stupider. But, for now, if you let Australians go and give them the fair go, used to be, we used to have a fair go. Everyone gets a fair go. But that's not how they implemented it. The fair go was government interference. But the fair go should be, leave me alone. Just leave me alone and let me produce, and let me innovate, and let me compete and keep quality high and prices low. That's how you do it with competition, not with government interference. So your tariffs, Mr. Donald Trump, are a disaster. They're going to be. And I'm pretty sure that Australia doesn't put any tariffs on anybody. It's a free, well, last I heard it was a long time ago, but it's a free trade country. It doesn't, because we are an island at the bottom of the world surrounded by water and everything comes on a ship. We decided long ago to not impose tariffs on imported goods, and we wouldn't want to, because we don't make shit here anymore anyway. But now it looks like, we're going to have some tariffs slapped on us, which will be bad for the US economy as well as bad for us. Less bad for us, we'll find somewhere else to sell the stuff to. We've got the commodities that everybody wants, so we might be just go out into other markets. We could go and talk to, we're already 60% of our exports go to China. Maybe we could, just do some more deals with South America, Europe, China, who knows, Africa, whatever, and just say, well, sorry, but it's not us that's going to pay those tariffs. It's just, that's going to slow our exports down. That's going to slow our production down if we continue to try and send it to the States. But other people will buy our stuff, I think. But it's bad for both economies. Tariffs are not the way to go. I like I said at the start, I believe that his heart's in the right place, but it's not how to go about it. So Just like every other mono leader, where we have to have a leader instead of making our own decisions, where we have to have, America and Australia and everywhere in the world's got massive governments now. The whole world just about is socialist. And, how's it going? High crime, inflation, lots of people being persecuted for thought crimes, all sorts of disgusting things going on. Councils taking people's land off them for not paying the rates for 3 years. Councils, monopolies being created by government. Oh, you got awarded the rubbish pickup. No one else can compete with you. How's that? That's a nice monopoly to have. Got the contract. Shouldn't need to get a contract to be a rubbish pickup man or woman, business. You should be out there competing, putting your flyers in the letterboxes like the real estate agents. Instead, you get awarded this massive great contract, and no one else can offer the rubbish collection in that area. That's a monopoly. That's a government-driven monopoly. So I just thought of something while I was talking, so I'll do another podcast about it. I'll have to watch this one again to see what I was talking about. But thanks for listening, guys. I'm sure you're all on side with that. I'll see you on the next one.